Your source for Georgia politics, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's trusted veteran political voices. Politically Georgia podcast is now 5 days a week. Listen weekdays at 10 a.m. on WABE 90.1. Stream at ajc.com/podcasts. Politically Georgia podcast is your essential news source, providing in-depth analysis and reporting from Peachtree Street to Pennsylvania Avenue. Listen to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's trusted veteran political voices, now streaming 5 days a week. Hosted by Greg Bluestein, Bill Nygett, Tia Mitchell, and Patricia Murphy. Tune in weekdays at 10 a.m. on WABE 90.1. Stream at ajc.com/podcasts. News and analysis 5 days a week from Politically Georgia podcast.
Bigley Piggly Wiggly on Spring Street has served 3 generations of shoppers since 1955 as the largest locally owned independent grocery store in the area. The Joseph family owners grew up here, so you know they're invested in the community. They provide the biggest variety of choice meats, the freshest produce, an in-house deli bakery, great wine selection, and more of your favorite brands. Every purchase gives you gasoline points so you can save at our pumps. Order online for pickup at BigleyPigglyWiggly.com. Bigley Piggly Wiggly on Spring Street. No one beats the pig.
The opinions expressed on Scoop Squad Truth Pod are those of the hosts and the guests and not those of WVRC Media. Scoop Squad Truth Pod is copyright 2023 Scoop Squad Truth Squad LLC.
I'm Ashley Switzer and I'm your host for the Scoop Squad Truth Pod, somewhere in the 80s episode, and we're a podcast coming to you.
In this 82?
I lost track, but you might be right. I feel like there's been several months gone by since last week. Lots of things have happened in a week, right? But we are a podcast located in Charleston, West Virginia, and we give you guys out there in Charleston and Kanawha County and surrounding counties and all over West Virginia just information as we get it, as it comes in. We bring it to you so that you guys out there can make, you know, when it's time to go to the polls, you can make more educated decisions, right?
We like to let people tell their story.
Yeah.
Rather than interpret it or interview, tape it, edit it together, you know.
Right.
We'd rather just have them come in and let them tell the story.
Let them talk.
Right.
And we've got 2 guests to come in and talk. Sometimes I think I talk too much. But you know what was interesting?
That's what the mayor says.
Yes. They don't like it when I talk. That's true. Last week we had Tristan Levitt on. And I feel like there was a lot that unfolded between last week and this week, and we can kind of give you an update maybe at the end of the podcast because we want to get right into our guest this evening. And I'm going to let you, before we bring on, Sunset Berry Farms, because they're coming on in maybe the second and third.
Right, and they have a little beef with.
No pun intended there. It's actually a berry farm.
Oh, okay.
They don't do beef.
So it's not a ranch.
No.
Okay. But they do have issues with the food bank, Mountaineer Food Bank.
Yeah. And we're going to talk to them a little bit about their issues with Mountaineer Food Bank. They're
not the first
but
either.
They're not. We've got a lot of people.
Oh, I'm Ron, by the way.
Hey, Ron, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm going to let you introduce our guest. Why don't you go ahead and tell people who we have on this week and what we're talking about?
Well, okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Why don't I mention a few quick sponsors?
Okay.
I want to thank Bigley Piggly Wiggly over on Spring Street. The store used to be on Bigley. That's where it gets the name. But great locally owned family stores.
Yep.
Been around since 1955.
Jeff Joseph.
Also, Chris Walters at Integrity Insurance, offering auto, home, life, business, workers' compensation insurance, workers' comp insurance, and pet insurance. Health insurance for your dog and cat. They're at 16 Capitol Street, 346-9181, IIGWV.com. Also, Eggplant on Bridge Road. Anything but ordinary. Go to eggplantshop.com.
Everybody better get up there and get your Christmas gift. She's got some great,
you can find one for just about any demographic there. Of course, T-Graphics on the west side, 312 Buchanan Street, tgraphics.com, 345-4816. And they've been doing screen printing and embroidery since 1984. And also, my good friend that I've known all of his life, because he's quite a bit younger than I am, known his family forever, Jody's Mobile Services, steam cleaning, pressure washing, fleet washing, and auto detailing. they come to you. And he does a lot of large jobs, large like fleets and tractor-trailer washing, but also buildings. I've seen these type of businesses do like the sides of restaurants and so forth that, in this valley, they used to get dirtier a lot quicker. But he's at 304-437-3164, and that's Jody's Mobile Services.
Rusty, do you have a building downtown that needs cleaned?
Yes, okay. I do, as a matter of fact.
I just, you
like power washing, but on steroids.
Everybody could get all spiffied up for the new year.
Right.
Hey, speaking of Rusty.
So we have Rusty Webb with us, who is been part of the has been part of the opioid solution system, I guess, going back 25 years. You've been, I know you've been involved.
Well, I've been an attorney. I got involved in it in 2016.
Okay.
When the litigation started. So 6 years ago. Yeah.
So you also were in the legislature.
I was in the legislature.
Right?
This would be. I told somebody. I saw Chris Pritt the other day, and this will be his last session. I said my last session was 20 years ago.
Oh wow!
Mine was in 2004. His is in 2020.
Because I worked for Willard and Associates. Remember them?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you used to be a frequent caller.
Yeah. Well,
kind of.
I'll tell you when we get a break.
Okay.
Well, I was a frequent.
Oh my God.
That's a secret.
But Rusty has been an attorney for what
37 years now.
Okay.
I think I used to do your yellow pages, so that the fact that there were yellow pages when we met.
What are yellow pages?
Yeah, but back in the day, you lived or died by them.
Well, why are you here?
Well,
what are you doing here?
You've been begging me to come on for one thing.
I have been asking you to come on
one topic or another, and I bailed on you that one time. But
we feel insecure about the whole opioid solution program. With the West Virginia First Foundation, we just felt like we didn't have enough information. Even looking at all the news stories, it seems like we always knew there was something else to it about how this was supposed to be set up and how it's supposed to run.
Well, and now I feel like that the West Virginia First Foundation was set up to be non-political, right? To keep it out of the hands of the politicians. And now Patrick Morrissey is actually being accused of just that, even though he's created this foundation to distribute the money. He's still being accused of having too much
Wasn't that one
influence.
Of the
right?
Attorney General criticisms that they had too much power when it came to money that was in settlement cases with large businesses?
Well, it's complicated and it's simple at the same time. Okay. So let me walk you through it.
Okay.
And I gave
we tend to overcomplicate things.
I gave you something that we ought to have. Not that I want to invite myself back on, but we ought to have like session 1 and session 2 because this is sort of the introductory session, and you have another guest coming on, and then you haven't had a chance to read these documents. Right. These documents are not hard to get, but you have them.
Yeah, it's like when we're working men and women, family, nobody's going to go out and what I mean.
Right. Well, I know for a fact that the auditor. I had a meeting with J.B. McCuskey this week, and he's going to not only put this on the auditor's website, but he's also going to try to help the cities and counties navigate through this because
and that's part of the process.
That's part of his process. Is auditing, but he's not going to have any direct control over this.
Okay.
But he wants to be helpful, and
he wants to be transparent and get the information out there.
Yes.
Maybe we ought to explain that part of the settlement monies through the lawsuits are going to the West Virginia First Foundation, but other parts are going directly to cities and counties.
Right,
is that right?
Right. That's right. So.
Go ahead.
The round math is this, and by the way, for the entire 6 years that we're litigating these cases, we're developing this document and we're developing the uses for the money because all this money came with strings attached. Every bit of it.
It does.
It has to go, and there was a perfectly legitimate reason for that. Both the defendants didn't want to pay for asphalt. And the Attorney General didn't want to pay for asphalt. He wants it to go to where it can be most impacted. And this is his brainchild.
And other states patterned, to the extent that they could, pattern themselves after this, because the brilliance of this is that it's a public-private trust, so that when this $1 billion runs out, you can circulate monies from other grants in and out forever, in perpetuity. So he wanted that ability, and to do that, he needed to make it a public-private trust. Okay. Now, what I'm getting ready to say are my words, not his. But you know what happens when you put it through the political process. Okay?
Tell us.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's bad. Nothing good is going to come of it. And I had two prominent, I'm not going to mention any names, two prominent leaders in the legislature say, why, and they're friends of mine, why didn't this go through the political? I said, because nobody wanted it to go through the political process, because it's a political process that we're trying to avoid so that you can get money. And now I'm back to the AG, so you can get money directly to where it's needed.
If we hadn't set this up, where would the money have gone?
It would have ultimately, if the legislature had done the right thing, it would have gone to DHHR. And that's a great segue, Ron, because I've talked to a number of people in finance, and they ultimately 40% is shaved off for operating expenses
through DHHR.
So there's 40%.
I don't think anybody would have thought that was a good idea.
So, right. So, and then DHHR, and again, nothing personal. The DHHR got broken up. I think that's a great idea. I've been dealing with them for years through CPS. And
I think by the end of the year, it'll be official.
But the point is that the DHHR has this tendency to go out, hire experts to tell them how to spend the money, and they're supposed to already know how to spend the money, and then tell them when to spend the money and why to spend the money. And by the time it gets to the people, there's nothing left.
Right.
So this was a brilliant idea on the Attorney General's part, and he deserves. Somebody said, should he make another politician whose name I won't mention said, should he make this a political? Yes, he should. He certainly should, because it's something that is unique to us. Nobody I know or in these states did this thing. And I could talk about the other criticism was the per capita. Per capita. Think about this. We have 1.7, closer to 1.7 and 1.8 million people. We have $1 billion. Do the math. If you could gather up all the other states and the accumulation of monies and compare it to their population, they're not even close to West Virginia. And the reason they're not close to West Virginia is because the Attorney General chose not to accept ACCEPT. I always say that because they both sound the same.
Right.
Not to accept the distributor's proposal of $26 billion to the entire United States. Now you're thinking,
is that why he wasn't in on the class action suit? Because
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we'll call it a class action. It wasn't a class action, but we'll call it that for the sake of simplicity. That's why he didn't agree to the $26 billion because the formula they used for distribution was created by attorneys generals. I can tell you who they are: Pennsylvania, Texas, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Those were the leaders, not Republican, Democrat. They were large states. And what do large states want? They want to screw small states. And so they came up with this in a Denver meeting. It's called the Denver Formula. Okay, if you want to go, I think it's on Google. But it's population-based. Okay, so if you do your math, if you have your calculator right now, and today we have 333 million roughly people in this country. We have 1.7. I did 1.7 against 300. That comes out to 0.005.
That would have been the percentage we would have gotten. We
would have gotten 1/2 of 1%. And in real dollars, that's like $10 million. So, of course, the Attorney General opted out because he represents the state that's most impacted of any other state. And so as a result, we received $405 million. Okay? So nobody can say that we got less than anybody else because we opted out of every deal there was. He's ready to try the cases, and either before, during, or after trial, they settled with him because he's ready to go, to take it to the end.
It seems like I've heard some criticism that he could have gotten more.
Yeah, that's not enough.
And what would have been that process?
I don't know how.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Okay, so let's say that California got $2 billion. Well, look at the size of California. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So when you do it proportionate to your population, no one
got as much.
$1 billion in West Virginia?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. Okay?
But look at the per capita impact, that it's had on our state versus the other states.
And if you subtract children from this population,
right,
the per capita the amount goes even higher. Because we're really there's some teenagers obviously that have addiction, but we're really talking about adults in West Virginia. So that number is far less than 1.7 million. So all those criticisms are unfounded. I understand it in a political climate. I get it. People are going to say, but they're very ignorant statements because they're not based. They're just throwing things out there.
Well,
there's no statistics.
He's the front runner, so he's going to be attacked. You know what I mean? They're going to come. They're all going to come gang up on him and come after him.
But
because
I've tried to do as much research on the subjects as I could, and there just wasn't that kind of information to find. And that's why I was glad you could come.
Yeah.
And, because I've seen some news articles, but none of them were more than 4 or 5 paragraphs.
And I mean, what about
describing how this went?
What about the issue of transparency? That first meeting that nobody knew about, and the executive session, and people being nervous about how
let me just say this. Someone asked me that. Matter of fact, you and Claudette were talking about that when it prompted me to call you to do this, and they were like, secret meeting. Let me ask you. Let me just say this: the governor has the regions appointed 6. Their regions. You have the regional map there.
Yes, I do.
Through some process, they were able to take like 10 counties and come up with one appointee. Okay, that's huge. The governor appoints 5. The attorney general appoints the executive director. And remember, he has not appointed directly. He's asked for a national service to go out and find the best.
Right.
So that's wrong. I mean, that's wrong. I mean, he could have said, here's my buddy here that I want to be.
Right.
He didn't. He said, I'm going to have a national service make a recommendation about who the executive director should be. How much more transparent can you be than that? But the second thing is, you put 11 individuals in a room and you tell them for the first time, organize yourself and start. Of course they want to be in private the first meeting, because how do you get organized if you've got these cameras and microphones and hey, what's your name and where are you from? You know what I mean? I can defend that easily for organizational purposes. Anybody that's ever been a part of a club, the first meeting, you don't want the cameras all over you. You want to be able to talk frankly with your people, get acquainted with them.
You got a lot of people who were. I read a lot of left wing press and a lot of right wing press, and a lot of in the middle press. And both sides were kind of saying, well, what do they have to hide? Especially on the left wing side.
I don't think there's anything to hide. I think, and I wasn't there. I just imagine 11 people who may or may not know each other. We're a small state. Everybody knows somebody. But just trying to organize your first meeting, and you've got, I have no problem with it. And I don't think anyone should have any problem if they've ever been in a group that's been thrown together through an appointment process and say, hey, let's organize ourselves before we start making decisions. And of course, no decisions were made in that first meeting. I don't know when decisions will be made, but I don't see the problem. I think it's
Do you think there could have
I think
been
it's a straw man argument. I think you create this illusion that it's supposed to be, and do
you think there could have been a pool reporter, so at least there was one reporter, one person from the outside, just kind of.
I mean, I'm not here to defend the process.
Right.
I mean, it's a
I'm
small part of the overall.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
No, I believe that somebody has to hand the pens out, the papers, and this is the MOU. If you haven't seen it, these are the things. These are the things that we need to do, and it probably the Attorney General's trying to orient. It's an orientation. If you go to an orientation, do you want cameras, and speak and microphones? I don't think so. It's an orientation meeting, and so I think they needed that space to just orient themselves to what they're there for.
Right.
So
the
yeah,
other
but they couldn't make any policy decisions.
Of course not.
Okay.
Of course not.
Right.
And the only policy decision you can make in executive session are personnel decisions anyway. So so yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
You're wound up.
I am. Well, he said you were going to be wound up. You got me wound up. Everybody's wound
That's
up.
what she does.
You wound me up before I got in.
She's
the door.
infectious. She comes in wound up. And
By the
then
way,
she
Rick and
go up.
Jeff used to live over top of me at Marshall, and they have some of the best speakers you could buy in the '80s. So just throwing that out for.
All right. So what was the other criticism that I was gonna
The attorney's fees.
Okay.
The attorney's fees.
Okay.
So let's
talk
hit it
about
head
that.
on. Let's
do
hit it
it.
head on. So
what else do we need to know in session 1 here?
I don't know.
I
Should we get back together after they have their initial meeting? Is that should we kind of plan that off the cuff?
I think what we should do is have an orientation session, which is what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you read the documents.
Yeah.
They're easily to read, and then you come back and I come back and you say, what about this? What about that?
Right. I mean, do we do that until after they have their first meeting?
When is their first meeting?
That's up to you. I'm not following because my job is done. Okay, my job is done. I have to trust the process, and I do trust the process because I believe the Attorney General has nothing but sincere motives in making this as non-political as he possibly can.
I think a lot of people believe that. I
And
think there's just a general distrust, in West Virginia towards politicians and the political process. And, the other criticism, I think I just remembered it, was that he was a pharmaceutical lobbyist or representative, or he came out with a sweetheart deal. He settled. He just.
I can tell you, I worked alongside of him for 6 years.
Yeah.
I didn't know him. These type of things. He appointed me as the attorney for the state of West Virginia. I'll tell you, my personal experience with the Attorney General is he says what he thinks and he thinks what he says. He absolutely has no filters. I mean, good, bad, or ugly,
right.
He will tell you what he thinks. And there were many times he would tell me during this process that he thought the attorney's fees were too high. He's talking to his own lawyer here.
Wow.
And I said, I get it. And you ran on it. But the practical effect of that was prior attorneys general would pay contingency fees. Those are percentages of 30 to 40%. The effective rate that he paid his attorneys was 7.5%. And that's gotten lost. That's really gotten lost.
That has not come up in any of
It has
the
not.
press articles
You're right.
I've read.
And I think
I've read all of them.
the effective rate that he paid, because when he came in, if you'll recall, one of his platform issues was what he called pay to play. You donate to the AG, you get the appointment. You donate, you get the appointment. He stopped that. And so what he did was he did this. You've seen the.
You're talking about McGraw.
I'm not referring to anyone in particular. I'm just saying prior
to this Attorney
AGs
General
paid, the percentage you get in normally, which is 30 to 40%. Okay.
Right.
He does what I call you heard of the diminishing premium on insurance.
Right.
He does that. If you look at his and those who are listening, you go and look at outside counsel, and you can Google it. West Virginia Attorney General outside counsel policy. You can see that you get 15% of the first X amount of million, 10, 5, and then X amount between that and another amount, and it's capped. So when you come in with your eyes wide open that you're not going to get, you're not getting that 30, 40% that used to be doled out. You're getting, and if you do the effective rate, it's 7.5%. So, and he still complained about that, by the way. So, that's sort of a joke, but yeah, he complained about. Well, he complained of the total, 15% of the total was, and this is in a court order by the panel that was appointed by the West Virginia Supreme Court, the multi-litigation panel. 15% of the total went to attorney's fees. But of his fees, for his cases, it was 7.5 was the effective rate. So nobody got that 30, 40, 25%. Everybody got a haircut, as you would say. So, and you're talking about 6 years of litigation, and you're talking about
a long time.
You're talking about man hours, person hours. I'm politically correct. Hundreds of thousands of hours. So you can't go out and pay somebody $200,000 a year. First of all, it's a club, whether you know or you don't know. You can't. It's not on the job training, right? You can't come in and learn it. You have to already know it, and millions of dollars was spent on this. So 6 years. So when you look at that, it's the state of West Virginia got a really good deal.
That's a fair price.
Really good deal.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that. 6 years of your life.
Yeah.
Whew.
Tell me again the ratio of what this panel is getting compared to each individual city.
So the counties receive
pots.
20. I think I'm correct in this. It's in the MOU. 24.5% the counties and cities receive, proportionate to their
population.
Well, it wasn't all. It's not population. There were other metrics involved. There was a number of pills. See, we didn't use the Denver formula.
Right.
We used a more equitable formula that was number of pills, the potency of the pills, death,
distributed
and some
in that,
population.
in that area.
Some population. So
Okay.
I didn't bring the exhibits that have the percentages, but they all add up to 100. But you will find that there are some counties with smaller populations
That get more money.
Because of the impact. Yes.
Could you email that to us and we
Yes,
we could share
absolutely,
it?
I can. The caveat for that is there was an opportunity in here to dispute between counties and cities, and this was always between the county seat and the county, and so they had this dispute process. So some of those figures didn't stay where they were. Some of them went 50-50.
Okay.
So a lot of the counties and cities, theoretically, the cities got more money than the counties in some cases, in the urban cases, and then a county would dispute. So sometimes it went to 50-50, and these schedules that I have don't account for that, is what I'm saying. But you can see an anomaly, take McDowell County. McDowell County probably got more than some of your larger populated counties because of the impact.
And then Welch got...
Yeah, and Welch would get probably something disproportionate than a non-impacted but larger county seat or something. You know what I mean? So it was impact.
So what would Welch? I mean, when they get this money, what are they going to do with it? I mean, what does a county like Welch?
Okay, so the first caveat that one of the exceptions we made in this is one of the huge bills that counties were having to pay through this period and before this period were regional jail fees.
Yes,
and it was killing them.
Yeah,
it was. Webster County was one I remember explicitly. Small county, huge regional jail bill, and small tax base.
Yeah,
and so you could track not directly, but in close proximity, the number of appeals and the number of jail fees.
Oh, wow.
It was a delay, right? Because appeals came in first, then the crime, then the jail bills. So what we explicitly put in this MOU, it's called the Memorandum of Understanding, West Virginia First, was we allows, we all agree to this, that they can use up to 50% to reimburse themselves for opioid-related expenses, and for the counties, that probably means regional jail fees. Okay. In other words, they're so behind that we're going to let them try to catch up with 50%. Okay, so that's the first.
How does that help the county?
It gets them out of debt so they can use their current income to do infrastructure because they're so far.
Are they paying interest on that debt?
I don't think they pay interest. Maybe they do. I don't know the dynamics between.
Probably affects their credit rating.
I don't know that either. I mean, I can only stay in my wheelhouse here, but I know that they're deeply in debt as it relates, and so that's going to the state. All right, so that's going to the state. What are they going to do with it? Right. I don't know. That's another decision the state has to make with this influx of money coming from the counties. The second, and then beyond that, they received 24.5%. The trust received 72.5%, and there was about 3% kind of set aside for clawbacks and administrative things. You know, so it was a small percentage, and and then there's a 32-page, not 32-page, however many pages are in there of uses for the opioid money. Okay.
Is that in the memorandum of
It's attached. It's an exhibit attached, but you have it separate. Okay. So let me tell you how that came about.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as COVID hit.
Hey, can we take a break?
Yes,
super fast?
Absolutely.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back. A break just means 1 second, and now we're ready to go.
Oh.
We just have to pause.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
We hit the pause button.
We're not live. Okay.
Yeah, Ryan, can you count us down?
You don't have to hear all
Can I
this.
go to the bathroom?
Yes, please. You can call the Gilkersons. That'd be great. We're going to keep going with Rusty. You can just let me know when they're on the line.
The Scoop Squad Truth Pod would like to thank our sponsors. Those include Chris Walters at Integrity Insurance, featuring auto, home, life, business, workers' compensation, and pet insurance. Pet insurance, you say? That's health insurance for your dogs or cats that covers special foods, illnesses, surgeries, and medication. They're on 16 Capitol Street in Charleston at 346-9181, or reach them at www.iigwv.com. Also by Jody's Mobile Services, offering steam cleaning, pressure washing, fleet washing, and auto detailing. We come to you. They're at 304-437-3164. And also by Eggplant on Bridge Road. Anything but ordinary. Go to eggplantshop.com. Also by T-Graphics on the west side, 312 Buchanan Street, 345-4816. Go to tgraphics.com for screen printing and embroidery since 1984. Again, at 345-4816.
You're listening to the Scoop Squad Truth Pod, and we're on with Rusty Webb. And Rusty, I don't think that many people in West Virginia would know that you were the attorney working on the opioid settlement cases. I mean, probably the average...
Going back to 2016?
Yeah, I mean, the average citizen
we
probably
started
would know
filing in 2017. I represent the state of West Virginia and 45 cities and counties around mostly large urban areas, including Charleston.
Weren't you a consultant before that?
No.
About opioids or...
No, but I'll tell you what I did do. I'll tell you what I did do, Ron, just to take a short turn here.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to be just one of those lawyers who got the money. I wanted to understand it. So I flew to Palm Springs. I know, sad for me. Palm Springs, California in the December of 2016 and met with the professional development coordinator, one of the most renowned, and I can't think of his name. He has one of those shortened names. To learn for the Betty Ford Foundation. He's basically the person, and when I come back, I'll have his name, who does drug treatment for celebrities. Okay. And I wanted to know from beginning to end what was the most comprehensive. First, I wanted to learn about it. I was there for 3 days, so I wanted to learn about it, and then I wanted to know how to fix it. And using the term "fix" loosely. Okay.
Treat.
So, and I won't get it. I can save it for
That's
another day. But
story.
the point is that I made the effort. I made the effort to learn. So when I'm in a room with attorneys and they're all, and somebody starts acting like they know, I'm like, yeah, I know, because I spent a lot of time with this individual who's considered one of the best in the country. So I'd like to see that model that we talked about implemented at some point in West Virginia. But now let's get back to the
uses,
the uses. Yeah. The uses, anything and everything you can think of. But where this came from, the Purdue Pharma bankruptcy. That's where this document came from.
Right.
So the reason I'm intimately knowledgeable about that is because as the attorney for the city of Huntington, the city of Huntington was like the poster child in the country. So anytime they wanted leadership to go, and they actually did this one time. They took Mayor Steve Williams was one of 10 10 representatives around the country that went to Cleveland to talk directly to the CEOs and chairman of the board of these companies.
Wow.
And implore them to settle the case and start getting the money right. This was Judge Polster's doing. So Mayor Williams was one of them. We drove up together. We drove back. My point is Huntington was on one of the ad hoc committees when Purdue filed for bankruptcy almost immediately in 2020. I know the reason I know this, the date, is because I wasn't here. I was at my cabin and during COVID. I mean, I was doing all the calls. So Senator Mike Wolfel, who represents Cabell County, and I would either be on the same call on this ad hoc committee. It was small cities and counties around the country. And so along with other committees that were meeting, you're talking about high-priced lawyers in New York and all these places, Chicago, and started developing this document. Okay, so after thousands and thousands of hours, and I can't imagine how many attorney's fees they're going to apply for in the Purdue bankruptcy whenever it's all settled, which is up to about $6 billion right now.
Is the Sackler family,
that's
their fortune separate?
No, are
they separated?
That's before the U.S. Supreme Court right now. That very question.
Okay.
And criminal immunity is before the U.S. Supreme Court. So what I'm saying is, we had no reason in West Virginia to recreate the wheel when every brilliant legal mind in the country had worked on this. Literally, I'm on phone calls for 16, 18 months.
And we're talking about strategies on how to combat this crisis.
And that's so we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, so we just adopted wholeheartedly in toto that document that will be used. That document will be used around the country. I guarantee it. Regions, the DHHR already had 6 regions that they use for distribution of social services. We're lawyers. We're not human, and we're not experts. So we adopted the regional map that was already being used by the DHHR. Now you could argue whether it's whether that should correct or not, but there's a point at which we say this is not in our wheelhouse. Let's adopt what the experts have adopted, and that's what we did with those 2 documents.
Could we get these in electronic format? We can
yes,
put them on
I
Facebook
can.
page?
Yes, I can.
I think
there's nothing not public about these documents.
Right. Yeah.
They may be hard to get.
That's
but
what I can tell you. They
not.
are.
Yeah, the average person is not going to go out and get these.
Yeah.
That would be great.
You
even
couldn't
the
find
original
them?
bill would be.
Where can we find them, Rusty? Where can the average person go to find these documents?
I'll get them to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I have them, and I know that, like I said, J.B. McCuskey is going to, I think, put them on the auditor's website, and I think he's going to put together a brochure that kind of simplifies it so that he can help counties and cities navigate.
Yeah, because I mean, this is
it's not complicated. The auditing part. There's a little bit of auditing. Obviously, you have to have auditing. If you don't have auditing, they're paving roads with it, right?
Sure.
I'm not saying anybody's going to do anything wrongly, but there's a small audit part. They have to pass a resolution. Each county, city. This is what we're spending it on. This is the provision in the articles
where it matches, right?
Where it matches, and this is who we're paying. And they send it back to the structure is strictly to the board, the trust board.
Yeah.
But I think just to assist, I think the auditor wants to try to make it into a brochure style.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
would
easier.
love to read through these strategies further,
and some
come
are
back.
some are political. I mean,
Yeah, they are.
Well, I mean, because you have to understand this was a nationwide effort. So, and I know one of the provisions it's going to jump out at you. It's the needle exchange, and so some people like it, some people don't, but. The whole point of it is to but the kitchen sink in there if your political subdivision wants to do that.
Right, which would have to be, I would think, voted on by the people that live in these communities, whether or not they want a needle exchange or a syringe service program, because there's all kinds of different levels.
I'm not going to wade into that,
Yeah.
okay?
Right. Yeah.
But I'll just say that and the other important point
I used to hear you and Danny Jones talk about that.
Oh yeah,
when he had his show.
Oh yeah, we had a great. It was a great show. I'd like to have it back.
First time I'd heard about retractable needles.
Hey.
So anyway, the other point I want to make, and I know you have you have another guest, and I don't want to take more time, is that it
Well,
encourages collaboration and cooperation.
Okay.
So if you're a city that has 10,000, the economics of scale, you can't do much. But if you join with your local, the city next to you, or the town next to you, or the county,
or
and
several
say,
counties,
let's pool our money. There's nothing to prohibit that. As a matter of fact, even you can go out of your region. If Mate One wants to do something with Morgantown, to take a thing out of
wouldn't that be
WVU,
great? I mean, I can't imagine 2 counties or 3 counties agreeing on what to do with their money.
Right.
But you know what? I mean, that would be great.
Well, and then the other thing is the monies that the seed, I call it seed money,
Yeah.
the cities and counties. The big money is the 72.5.
Yeah.
And that's where nonprofits, cities, counties, anybody who can convince it to be I don't want to get ahead of the trust board, but
Yeah.
I foresee it as being a grant style thing. Make a grant, tell us how it's going to impact, how much money you need, and this. I think that's the way it's going to be done.
And that raises some red flags for me.
Yeah.
You start talking about grant programs and things like that.
we have a couple of weird grant programs.
We've got a lot of weird grant programs. People not doing what they say they're going to do, and that raises a whole nother.
So that's the thumbnail Reader's Digest.
Yeah.
We appreciate
orientation.
We appreciate it because that information's not out there. I'll look for it.
Yeah.
You know what we've been talking about, and I've been reading, articles from every news organization, from the not only on Twitter or online.
So that was this was the orientation. So session 1's coming up.
Well,
right?
I think
usually there's an orientation, then there's session 1, session 2.
Session 1 would be you've read it.
Yeah.
I can hopefully clarify it.
Okay.
I mean, hopefully, yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. So that's.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to having you back.
Yeah. Thanks for finally coming. Gosh.
I mean, thanks for not standing us up.
I also feel like you a little overstated that I was begging. I never begged you.
No. No, you did. I didn't. No, what happened was I pitched you this great idea, and then I canceled it. And you're like, "Come on, Bryce. Come on, Bryce.
See?
You're killing me."
Stood her up. You stood me up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And then you played with my emotions and telling me you were going to be late. It was just not nice.
I used to do that to Danny a lot. Just to get a rise out of him. Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know you well enough for you to do that to me.
Well, we do now.
You do now.
So.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
Okay.
And we are going to have you back. And once I get you on the calendar, you are not allowed to cancel. So thanks. Hey, Ron, you want to walk him out? And I will bring the Gilkersons.
Get him safely through the door.
Yes. Thanks, Rusty.
Once he's on the street, his safety is on his own.
So we have that was Rusty Webb explaining to you guys the West Virginia First Foundation. He was the attorney representing the state of West Virginia in the opioid cases. And on the phone with us now, we have Kent and Jennifer Gilkerson. And the Gilkersons own a farm in West Virginia. I believe it's remind me where, is it Gassaway? Where are you guys located?
We're in Monroe County.
In Monroe County, and you guys have Sunset Berry Farms. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And are you guys the ones every summer you've got the strawberry picking and everybody comes out and picks fresh strawberries?
Yep, that's us.
I haven't made it there yet.
Strawberry Festival. You have to come.
I'm going to have to come. Every summer I say that I want to go pick strawberries, and then, the summertime just seems to get away from me so fast. So welcome to the Scoop Squad Truth Pod.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So I want you to just give the listeners a little overview on why you guys are on here and what you want them to know about Sunset Berry Farms and what's been going on lately.
Sure. So, of course, we specialize in strawberries, and then we grow other things when we're asked to grow other things. So last winter, I got a phone call from Erica Posey at Mountaineer Food Bank, and Erica asked me if we would be willing to supply large quantities of food if the food bank were to be approved for a $3.3 million grant that they had applied for.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward to just before strawberry season, I got a call from Erica, and indeed they had been awarded the $3.3 million grant. And so we talked about quantities. We emailed back and forth. We had phone calls back and forth. Basically, Erica reiterated that the need was massive, and she was afraid she was not going to be able to source all of the $3.3 million from local farmers. So she was asking us to grow just as much as we could for 3 years.
And not just strawberries, right?
Not just strawberries, right. We asked her what she wanted us to grow, and she said it didn't matter. We could grow anything we wanted to grow. She would buy it. We'd grow it. She would buy it in unlimited quantities, as much as we would grow. So we rented an excavator. We added new fields into production, and we hired a full-time helper, a mom with 3 kids.
Oh, wow.
So you bought, I'm sorry, this is Ron. I just got back in the room. You bought an excavator just specifically to fulfill this contract? You rented it. Okay.
But they hired someone.
We rented an excavator, cleared new fields, hired actually one of our seasonal workers. We brought her on full time.
Okay.
So she was already helping us.
So what kind of investment do you think you had because of what they promised?
We spent about $20,000 preparing for their program, and then also hired the full-time person in addition to that.
And how did the season go? I mean, what was the harvest? What was the produce?
So the strawberry season, we got about 20% of our expected yield. The temperatures had dropped below freezing last winter, if you recall.
Yeah.
And that damaged most of our crops. But they bought most of what we did harvest.
Okay.
And then on into summer vegetable season, we grew large quantities. We grew, was about an acre each of squash, zucchini, cucumbers, and tomatoes. And then we have 95 peach trees, but that winter freeze had destroyed all those.
You know what? It is not. Listen, I have a garden in my backyard, and it's tiny. You know, it's tiny, but I fret over that little tiny garden. Like, I literally will go out in the middle of the night to check to make sure that there's no deer. You know what I mean? Like, I have my grandson pee around it. I am so just obsessed.
I always walk in the room at the wrong time.
I'm obsessed with my garden because it's hard to grow in West Virginia. It just is, with the deer population, the short growing season, the weather. Like I can't imagine having the kind of investment that a family farm like you guys have, and then to have all these outside factors that you have no control over. Like, that just has to be stressful.
Right, it is, and that's for 13 years. We've had, all those challenges that you just mentioned. We've invested $30,000 in fencing around 30 acres.
Wow.
Now, that kept the deer out. Prior to that, the deer destroyed way more than that in strawberries.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then we've had droughts. And so we've installed this farm-wide irrigation system with a pond and a water tower. And so every challenge that we've had, we then invested into prevention for the future.
Right.
So we're set up pretty good to be a very successful farm, as much as a farm can be successful in West Virginia, on a mountain.
Gosh, that's crazy.
A short growing season, like you mentioned. So that's why when we got that call from Mountaineer Food Bank, that was, the opportunity of a lifetime.
Absolutely.
And It was huge
and exciting.
It's very exciting.
So what happened? So what happened? What has transpired since that excitement?
So we strawberry season went fine. They took all the strawberries. The logistics, were a little challenging, but we made do with it, and we ended up having to deliver strawberries to Gasaway, and then they sat in their cooler overnight, and then they trucked them to the other side of the state. And so a few of them went bad just because that was poor logistics.
Sure.
But that was okay. Then in veggie season, we everything was fine at first. They bought the vegetables for a short time, and then all of a sudden they informed us that they were done. They weren't going to buy any more vegetables. And when they informed us of this, we had $13,000 worth of vegetables in the cooler, scheduled to be delivered.
Did you have a multi-year understanding, or was it supposed to be like season to season?
Yeah, I think I skipped over the part where Erica had asked us to grow as much as we could for 3 years.
Okay.
So you have a 3-year plan, a 3-year investment, and all of a sudden,
they're going to stop buying.
At the beginning of the season, did they break it off, or was it at the end of the season?
It was
mid-season.
They broke it off.
And why did they say they were going to stop buying?
Well, we had a few little hiccups, but nothing major. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they sort of they took advantage of a little hiccup and used that as an excuse to just leave us high and dry.
I mean, isn't there a food security problem here in West Virginia? Isn't that what we keep hearing about? It's like, why would you not buy food if there is a food security problem here?
Right. The first issue that we had was that, if you will recall, we had some pretty major storms this summer, like boom, 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 one after another. So we got hit hard by all of those storms, and we lost power for days. And so our cooler was down, and so we had called Mountaineer Food Bank and just spoke to whoever answered the phone and said, can we bring our produce a day early ahead of schedule, because if not, we're just going to they're all going to be destroyed.
Right.
Whoever answered the phone said, yes, bring it on. So we did, and then we get a call from Erica saying that we broke policy and that we had no right to deliver ahead of the schedule.
Just a matter of
through her.
Like 2 days?
They get her permission.
So you didn't get Erica's permission?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we were put on probation for that.
So because it was 2 days early, you were placed on
One day
early. I don't understand that.
I don't either. And it was either that or lose thousands of dollars worth of food. And if the person who answered the phone, if that was, then I'm confused as to why they didn't say, hold on, you need to talk to Erica.
Right.
Because we are new with this program. We're just,
Yeah. It's, there's got to be some growing pains, I'm sure, and some just getting used to this massive.
Did they send you like a format book or a book of instructions of how you're supposed to handle each situation? Or all of a sudden, this was a rule that you broke that you didn't know was a rule to begin with?
Right. They did send us some information, but that was not in there.
Right.
So you have the directory of instructions, but that item is not in there.
Correct.
Delivering a day early.
Is there any process for protest to go? Is there another level that you could go to, or?
Oh, well, I begged and pleaded, and I called, I texted, I emailed, no response, and I just
from Erica? From Erica at the Mountaineer Food Bank?
Erica, and then it was they finally responded because I guess they realized I was not just going to let this go. And they responded and said they don't owe us anything and that there is no process for appeal.
Yeah, they said that they was kicking us out due to unprofessional conduct. And since we did not have a contract, they was under no obligation to even explain to us what the conduct was. And furthermore, there was no appeal process. That's it. Have a good day.
So do they get their money, if I remember right, they get most of their money from the legislature, from the grants?
This contract here is actually through the Department of Agriculture. They give $164 million. It's called a local foods purchasing assistance program, and it's basically to direct to help small farmers in local areas.
Right, but there's only two of these. There's Mountaineer Food Bank and one other in the state, if I'm not mistaken. And their money from the Department of Agriculture. It seems like there could be a way to protest or go to your delegate or state senator, just say, hey, maybe you want to talk to somebody at the Agriculture Department about this situation.
Hey, Kent and Jennifer, will you hold on just a second through the break? We're going to come back and keep talking to you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, guys, we'll be right back with the third scoop.
The Scoop Squad Truth Pod would like to thank our sponsors. Those include Chris Walters at Integrity Insurance, featuring auto, home, life, business, workers' compensation, and pet insurance. Pet insurance, you say? That's health insurance for your dogs or cats that covers special foods, illnesses, surgeries, and medication. They're on 16 Capitol Street in Charleston at 346-9181, or reach them at www.iigwv.com. Also by Jody's Mobile Services, offering steam cleaning, pressure washing, fleet washing, and auto detailing. We come to you. They're at 304-437-3164. And also by Eggplant on Bridge Road. Anything but ordinary. Go to eggplantshop.com. Also by T-Graphics on the west side, 312 Buchanan Street, 345-4816. Go to tgraphics.com for screen printing and embroidery since 1984. Again at 345-4816.
And you're back with the third and final scoop of the Scoop Squad Truth Pod. We are on the phone with Kent and Jennifer Gilkerson, and they own Sunset Berry Farms in Monroe County. And we are discussing with them their agreement with Mountaineer Food Bank and this $3 million grant that came to Mountaineer Food Bank through the Department of Agriculture to help support local farms as well as solve the food insecurity problem here in West Virginia.
I think we also have another complaint from an entity that was promised some delivery from Mountaineer Food Bank. Was that correct?
That is, yes, let me...
That's a different situation.
Well,
but
I want to bring it up. Can I bring it up real quick?
Sure.
So, yes, we were contacted by someone who I think Kent and Jennifer was following your story on Facebook because you guys put it out there. I mean, you put Mountaineer Food Bank on blast and on Facebook. And when you did that, a lot of people... we shared it. And then a lot of people started coming to us. Now, you mentioned the Perry Posey funding. Did I hear you mention that?
That was the situation that I heard about.
So, Kent and Jennifer, you didn't mention Perry Posey, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
So this situation has to do with the Perry Posey funding that was to go to food pantries on November 30th.
This was a grant through the governor's office.
Through the governor's office.
And the only way you could apply for this grant would be through your Mountaineer Food Bank or the other food bank and that services the rest of the state.
And apparently there's been $10 million promised to local food pantries to feed the people of West Virginia. And the information I have is that the money got to the governor's office November 30th, I think, but it still has not gone out to the local food pantries via Mountaineer Food Bank yet. And these people, these local food pantries have promised, Christmas dinner boxes.
After being told by Food Bank that they would be eligible.
Yeah. So there's some stuff going on out there that's a little upsetting because we got these local food pantries that have promised citizens and people in need dinner for Christmas, which is just the basic need, right? Everybody should have something good to eat on Christmas.
There was a long-term plan, but there was also a short-term plan to deliver these to the pantries before Christmas.
And I'm not sure it's going to get there. So anyway, why don't you continue with your story? Because when they cut you off, or when they said they were not going to purchase food from you guys anymore, what did you do? What actions did you take? Because I'm with you. Like, I would not go away quietly because this is my family that we're talking about, probably. You know what I mean? Like, this, you guys have a big investment. This is your family farm. You can't, it's not something that you're just going to walk away from, I would imagine.
So what we first done was, of course, we tried to call Erica, and I left a message, waited a couple hours. She didn't respond, so then I called the next lady, Annie Boyd, I believe is her name. Left a message, waited a couple hours, no response. Called the CEO, Chad Morrison, same scenario. So then Jennifer makes a Facebook post, and they probably wasn't counting on her having 20,000 Facebook followers on her page.
Yeah.
So after they started receiving phone calls, then Mr. Morrison did call me back.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't very happy. He said he wasn't happy about all the hate mail he was getting and the phone calls and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, surprise.
Yeah, can I just say here, if anybody says to me again that Facebook doesn't solve problems, I'm going to just lose my mind because you know what? Sometimes it does. Anyway, continue.
So he said he would have a meeting with whoever the next day, their operations, and see if they wanted to, I guess, give us another chance, if you will.
Okay.
So the next day he did go ahead and continue buying, but this time instead of having the people under him actually do their job, Erica and whoever, he took control of the situation, and all correspondence went through him after that.
Okay.
And everything worked out pretty well until, but we was hoping for a long-term investment, and so he did purchase up through November 14th, I believe was our last order. That's when the
last month.
The frost finally caught up with us.
Yeah.
And then we finally just received all of our payments from our invoices here the last couple of weeks.
Uh-huh.
So then we asked about next season, maybe do some better planning,
Yeah.
We didn't know if he was getting too much of this or not enough of that.
Right.
What happened. And he wouldn't answer for several emails. He wouldn't answer at all. And then finally he did answer and said he didn't know basically who they were going to offer contracts to, stated that they would have to look at, available funds and the performance of those that were in the contract to begin with, which I'm assuming he was directing towards us. So that's when we made the other Facebook post my wife did about what is going on. Mm-hmm. We've actually had several other farmers and even some extension agents that was aggregating food for the food bank that they did the exact same thing to. They just cut them off completely, and that was that.
I mean, I'm confused. Like, it's Mountaineer Food Bank. They need food. Where are they going to get their food if they're not buying from local farmers? And wasn't that what the grant was for, was to support local farms in West Virginia?
That's exactly what it was for. Now, I will say when I was talking to Mr. Morrison there, he did give me an example. He said that they do not do contracts. That's what everybody said, well, you're foolish for going into business without doing a contract. But from what he informed me, do a contract with anyone because that way they can drop you at any moment. He likened it to going to Walmart. He said, if I buy a squash from Walmart and I don't like it, I never have to buy from them again. And that's the same thing with farmers. If I don't like what they're doing, then I don't have to buy what they're growing for me.
Okay.
Which I can see if we was delivering a horrible product or rotten food or something of that nature. But that's not the case.
Right.
And it came out of you delivering a day early. Is that where most of the problems came from?
Most of the problem was from that.
the only other incident that occurred was also in our minds very minor. We had 90% zucchini. There was a food bank in Oak Hill that we were going to deliver to. They messaged me and said they didn't want any zucchini. And so
who doesn't want zucchini?
They said they didn't want any zucchini. So I said, what we have is 90% zucchini, so we would just need to deliver somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
If they couldn't take everything, we could just deliver somewhere else. And so Erica said that we were, I guess we were being bad by doing that, and so that was the only two incidents that I know of. And these are just us guessing.
Mm-hmm.
They never told us
what
why.
You were doing wrong, right?
Never.
Right.
We are just guessing. These are the only two minor things that happened.
How did they reach out to you? How did they find you in the first place to reach out to you guys to offer this type of
We're a
program?
fairly well-known farm. We do some guest speaking at some of the farm conferences, and, and Jennifer Roxay, she does have 20,000 followers, and
yeah,
she does an extremely good job on outreach for a farm. And
yes,
we assume just something through that. We'd never dealt with the food bank before, and
I wonder where was the food bank? Where was? Go ahead. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Through all of this, what were you going to say?
I'd say through all this, I don't want people to think negatively about the Mountaineer Food Bank or any food bank. I think they serve a very valuable need to our community here.
Sure.
I don't want anybody to withhold funds from them. I just wish that some more accountability would be held to those that are in charge of administering it and their policies and practices.
Well, and I mean, I wonder where they got their food before they were purchasing from West Virginia farms.
I have no idea.
Because, if this is a pilot program, right, like, I don't think that there could be any better partnership than with a local food bank to local farmers. So if this seems like a very worthwhile program that, like you said, may just, like, if people would just stick with it and cooperate and plan, like a garden is something that you have to plan, right? Like you also have to know the needs of the people that you're serving.
Right.
And so it seems like there should be a lot of planning that would happen between the food bank and the farmers. And it just seems like they just said, well, grow whatever and do whatever. And
right. That's exactly what happened. Just no planning. The logistics was, it's just.
And that's not good.
Somebody, like the girl who was our case manager, was straight out of high school, no life experience. I just think she's way in over her head. But that's still no excuse for going around the state and ordering food from dozens of farmers, from what I understand.
Yeah, and then backing out.
So are they blaming? Are they blaming her for the miscommunication?
No, they're not stating at all. I just felt like she was in over her head.
Okay.
But I guess that's just a minor.
No, they're blaming us. In fact, they've hired an attorney that has threatened us with lawsuits, telling us we're not allowed to speak to people like you and Facebook. And
oh, really?
Well, if you had a signed contract, that might be true. But if you don't,
they said that we're portraying that we had a contract. We've never told anyone.
No. Well, that's what we do here in West Virginia, right? We take you at your word.
Right.
It's a defamation of character is what they're saying.
Well, you're just telling the truth.
Right.
And that's what we do here too. That's what we're called.
Yeah.
Scoop Squad, Truth Pod. That's a shame. Because I would really like to know where they're getting their food, Ron, and where they got it before and where they're getting it now, if they're, backing out of all these, verbal agreements with local West Virginia farmers.
Have you talked to other farmers who had the same situation?
They said that there's been several.
I had to let Rusty out, so I didn't.
Oh, yeah. Fill Ron in on that there.
We had one lady said that her farm was delivering 4 pallets of produce per week, and then all of a sudden, for no reason, they cut them off.
That was a whole entire cooperative of farmers. I thought it was. So we've been contacted by at least.
There was a West Virginia extension agent that was in charge of a co-op.
I just wonder if they just didn't know. I wonder if they just didn't know what to do with all those vegetables.
Well, they were definitely. I mean, yeah, I feel like that could have been definitely a problem.
But again, that's a planning problem.
What's,
that's solvable.
Right.
If people want to learn more about you and your situation, what's the name of your Facebook?
Sunset Berry Farm.
You can search Facebook for that. Do you have a website or?
Do you have a website outside of Facebook?
Yes, Sunset Berry Farm WV.com.
I have so many friends that have been to Sunset Berry Farms to pick strawberries and make strawberry freezer jam and all kinds of strawberry goodies.
One of my friends is from Monroe County.
So I need to plan to come. What is the optimal strawberry season? When do I need to plan for this summer?
Memorial Day weekend is when it's really hopping, and that's when the Alderson Strawberry Festival takes place.
Yes. And how long does the season go?
Well, it's a really short season. What, about 4 weeks?
Around 4 weeks,
if we're lucky.
Yeah.
So you guys going to keep growing your veggies and all? That how many acres that you invested in?
The good news is the other food bank actually did call me and say she would love to pick up where Mountaineer Food Bank left off, and she would love to buy the produce. So
idea.
What was the name of that other food bank?
Yeah, what is that? What is that name?
It's in Huntington.
Okay.
They're supposed to come up and tour the farm, and I think maybe do some production planning, all the things that was lacking in the other.
That's awesome.
So is this looking like it might be a happy ending or just satisfactory?
Well, we'll see how the lawsuit goes.
For heaven's sakes. Well, let's nip that in the bud right now. That's ridiculous.
Right. Facing Hunger Food Bank, is that the one that you're working with?
Yes.
Yes.
I want to come and tour your farm.
Come on.
It's kind of
Let's wait till it's warmer.
I would love to do that. Like I said, I obsess over my tiny, teensy little garden.
How far are you from Union? I've been to Union several times.
Right up the road.
We're about 15, 20 minutes.
Towards Greenbrier County?
Yes, we're right where Greenbrier, Summers, and Monroe all come together.
Okay, I've been there.
Okay.
I go camping there, get on the river.
Well, you guys are in a beautiful part of our state. And you, like I said, I admire and just pray for farmers, West Virginia farmers. It's not, it's a hard profession, especially here in our state, but it's so rewarding when it all turns out, isn't it? Isn't it great just to sit down at a table full of your own homegrown vegetables? I don't know who would not want zucchini. I don't understand that.
You got about 4 tons of it, so it
might be a little too much. Yeah.
If you get 4 tons, I had trouble with my zucchini this year, so you know what? I might be making a trip just for zucchini. Well, listen, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you so much, and we're gonna, follow this story. And that's just ridiculous. But we're going to keep your story out there, and we've got a lot of other people that have reached out to us because of your story. So we've got a lot of new leads to track down, and keep in touch with us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good night. Merry Christmas.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye. Wow.
That's 2 pretty hard-hitting stories to keep up with. The opioid crisis, and then how food banks work, and how farmers are sometimes maybe I hate to use the word victimized, but they're kind of held hostage in a way to the whims of bureaucration.
That is so crazy. Like the difference between, like, we're talking opioids and then we're talking farming, but West Virginia, that's West Virginia.
Yeah, it's West Virginia politics.
Wow. Well, all right. That wraps us up for.
Right. And we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Any previews of what's coming up next week?
Oh, we've got I don't know what we're doing next week. Do you know what we're doing?
Oh, I've got a couple of.
I think we've got the cookie.
We've got to do the cookie walk.
I'm getting my hair done that day.
Okay.
So
before the cookie walk,
I will not cancel my hair appointment.
Okay. Well, we'll be at Piggly Wiggly during the cookie walk.
Are you thinking
Wednesday.
of something next week? What are you thinking of?
Well, I think we ought to be there.
But what are you thinking of?
Well, we'll just do a Facebook Live from there.
Okay.
What we can do.
Okay.
Maybe get somebody to.
I have a feeling we'll be. There'll be something big that will.
Maybe somebody that's running for office that could be there too.
And I want to plug really quickly because I visited Faith in Action and dropped off my senior gifts.
Right there close to Piggly Wiggly.
Close to the Piggly Wiggly. And I just want to highlight, we've got the fundraiser for their quality of life rides, for the purchase of a vehicle, a van. The update to that is that Faith in Action has sent an application or a letter outlining their plan for this vehicle, the cost of the vehicle, has sent it to the county commission.
Okay.
Recently the county commission yanked $50,000 from BOAD because they wanted to change. They would not come.
Yeah,
and
haven't heard anything more about that. Somebody from another press organization statewide that's funded by your public dollars reached out to me to kind of get a VOAD, and then it kind of went away.
Yeah.
And
I went to the flood committee meeting at the legislature on Sunday, and nothing was mentioned about VOAD. I think that things are going on behind the scene that we don't know about. I don't think that story is going away at all.
Well, we'll have to talk to our favorite county commissioner to see what he knows.
Yeah, but if you guys visit our Facebook page, you will see the fundraiser for Faith in Action, because hopefully the Kanawha County Commission will come through and be able to make that dream come true for a lot of our elderly people here in Kanawha and Putnam counties. So anyway, visit, donate, and it's just a great program.
Faith in Action just fills in the needs of seniors that some of the traditional Kanawha and Putnam, like Kanawha County Senior Services, it's kind of limited to what they have the infrastructure to do, and same thing with Putnam.
And they're a private nonprofit, which is different from a public nonprofit.
So what they're doing is filling in for seniors, helping seniors, especially seniors who are maybe underprivileged. They're filling in the gaps for what the other senior services programs can't do.
And they do so much with just 2 employees, and the rest are volunteers. All right, that's going to wrap it up. No pun intended for the month of December and Christmas coming up. But we will talk at you next week, Charleston, West Virginia. Thanks for being here.
If you would like to tie your business with this popular podcast, you can contact me, Ron Hughes, to advertise at ron.hughes, ron.hughes, at wvradio.com, or you could call me at 304-342-8131. The Scoop Squad Truth Pod would like to thank our sponsors. Those include Chris Walters at Integrity Insurance, featuring auto, home, life, business, workers' compensation, and pet insurance. Pet insurance, you say? That's health insurance for your dogs or cats that covers special foods, illnesses, surgeries, and medication. They're on 16 Capitol Street in Charleston at 346-9181, or reach them at www.iigwv.com. Also by Jody's Mobile Services, offering steam cleaning, pressure washing, fleet washing, and auto detailing. We come to you. They're at 304-437-3164. And also by Eggplant on Bridge Road. Anything but ordinary. Go to eggplantshop.com. Also by T-Graphics on the west side, 312 Buchanan Street, 345-4816. Go to tgraphics.com for screen printing and embroidery since 1984. Again at 345-4816. Rebroadcast, retransmission, or transcription is not permissible without the expressed approval of Scoop Squad Truth Pod. Copyright 2023. Opinions expressed on Scoop Squad Truth Pod are those of the hosts and the guests and not those of WVRC Media. The Scoop Squad Truth Pod is copyright 2023, Scoop Squad Truth Squad, LLC.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.